coffee, something so simple, so ordinary, that most of us don't even think twice about it. We just brew a pot, pour a cup, and get on with our day. But what if I told you that the way you're drinking your coffee right now could actually be working against you, quietly pushing your blood sugar in the wrong direction without you even knowing it? I'm Dr. Isabella Norris, and I've spent over 15 years working with older patients. Men who eat right, exercise, take their medications, and still can't figure out why their glucose numbers won't cooperate. And after all those years, I kept seeing something that nobody was talking about. It wasn't their diet, it wasn't their sleep, it was their coffee, specifically the when and the how. Let me tell you about Robert. He came into my clinic at 71 years old, retired firefighter out of Houston, Texas. Proud guy, disciplined guy, the kind of man who follows the rules. He'd cut his carbs, he walked every single morning, he checked his blood sugar religiously, but his HbA1c was sitting at 8.1%, and he kept having these energy crashes in the afternoon that left him wiped out on the couch by 3 p.m. He told me, "Doc, I'm doing everything right. Why isn't my body cooperating?" I hear that question a lot. And for years, I didn't have a complete answer until I started paying close attention to something most doctors never even ask about during a checkup. I started asking my patients, "Tell me about your coffee habit. When do you drink it? What do you put in it? How much?" What I found surprised even my colleagues. Here's the reality that nobody's telling you. According to research published in Diabetes Care and the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, taking coffee at the right time and in the right way can increase insulin sensitivity by up to 40% and reduce the risk of type 2 diabetes progression by up to 50% in men over 60. 50%. Not from a prescription drug, not from some expensive supplement stack. From coffee, something you're probably already drinking every single day. The data on blood sugar and aging is genuinely alarming. Studies from leading endocrinology institutes show that more than 30% of Americans over 60 already have signs of prediabetes or full type 2 diabetes. By the time you're 80, that number climbs to 1 in 2. 1 in 2 men your age are dealing with this. And the frustrating part, most of them are trying. They're cutting sugar, they're walking, they're listening to their doctors. But they're still seeing their glucose creep up, still feeling that afternoon fatigue, still watching their numbers not respond the way they should. I saw this constantly in my clinic in Nashville. Men who were textbook disciplined, tracking their macros, taking metformin, never missing their morning walk, but still derailing glycemically. I kept thinking, what's the missing piece? It took years of observation, patient tracking, and digging through the research before the answer became clear. The missing piece was sitting in their coffee mug the whole time. So if you've been doing everything right and still struggling with blood sugar spikes, with that low-grade fatigue that won't quit, with numbers that don't make sense, stay with me. Because what I'm about to share with you can genuinely change how you feel day to day. Not in 6 months, not after some dramatic lifestyle overhaul. We're talking about adjustments you can make starting tomorrow morning. Now, before I get into the solution, I need to talk about the mistakes, because chances are you're making at least one of these right now, and it's silently sabotaging all the other good things you're doing. The first mistake is drinking coffee black on an empty stomach first thing in the morning. I know, it feels clean, it feels disciplined, like you're doing the right thing. But here's what's actually happening inside your body. After 8 to 10 hours of fasting overnight, your system is in a catabolic state. When you hit it with straight caffeine and nothing else, it triggers a cortisol spike and causes your liver to release stored glucose. That means your blood sugar can jump 20 to 40 milligrams per deciliter before you've eaten a single bite of food. You wake up trying to start the day right and your glucose is already spiking. That's not a great start. The second mistake is drinking coffee too late in the day. A lot of guys have that second or third cup in the afternoon, maybe even a post-dinner cup while watching the game. But after about 2 p.m., caffeine starts interfering with your overnight insulin sensitivity. It keeps cortisol elevated right when your body needs to be winding down, and that messes with your baseline glucose the next morning. You wake up with higher numbers and you don't know why. The culprit was that 4 o'clock cup you didn't think twice about. The third mistake is adding sugar, flavored creamers, or artificial sweeteners. This one catches a lot of men off guard. They think switching from sugar to Splenda or Sweet'N Low is a win. But Here's what the research actually shows. Artificial sweeteners like aspartame, sucralose, and acesulfame K alter your gut microbiome and increase insulin resistance over time. They're not the safe workaround you think they are. And the flavored creamers, the hazelnut, the French vanilla, the seasonal stuff, those are loaded with processed sugars and refined fats that completely wipe out the metabolic benefits of the coffee itself. The plain black coffee you started with had real glycemic benefits from chlorogenic acid and natural magnesium. The moment you dump a flavored creamer in there, those benefits are gone and you've added a glucose spike on top. None of this is your fault. Nobody taught us how to drink coffee properly. We just do what we've always done, what we watched our dads do, what feels normal. But now that you know what's actually happening, you can start doing it differently. And the difference in how you feel, the energy, the stability, the numbers at your next checkup, it's real. So let me walk you through what I call the C3+1 Method. This is the protocol I developed after years of working with patients, tracking outcomes, and cross-referencing the research. It's 4 straightforward steps, 4 small habits that don't require any dramatic changes to your life, but that can genuinely transform your metabolic stability over the next several weeks. C3+1 stands for coffee, insulin control, chronology, and the +1 is a bonus step at the end that most people miss, and it's honestly the one that takes everything to the next level. Step 1 is your morning coffee, and this is where you need to make the most important adjustment. Instead of drinking it black on an empty stomach, you're going to add a few specific things. Take your regular coffee, a good 100% Arabica, nothing fancy. The store brand is fine as long as it's real ground coffee and not the heavily processed stuff. And add one of the following, either 10 to 15 grams of unflavored whey protein isolate or 2 to 3 tablespoons of hydrolyzed collagen powder. Then add a small splash of unsweetened milk or unsweetened almond milk and half a teaspoon of cinnamon powder. Now I know what some of you are thinking. Doc, where do I get whey protein isolate? You can find it at any GNC, Walmart, Target, or Costco. Look for the unflavored version. The flavored ones usually have added sweeteners. Bob's Red Mill makes a good collagen powder that's easy to find. Cinnamon you already have in your kitchen? This is not a complicated grocery run. Here's why this combination works. The leucine in the whey protein stops the catabolic spiral your body goes into overnight. The cinnamon has been shown in the multiple studies to improve insulin sensitivity and slow glucose absorption. And together, this combination reduces post-meal blood sugar spikes by up to 29%, according to 2023 research. You're not just drinking coffee anymore. You're activating your metabolism in a way that sets your entire day up differently. Step 2 is your pre-meal coffee. This one is a game changer that almost nobody knows about. About 20 to 30 minutes before your main meals, lunch and dinner, drink a small black coffee, or coffee with a pinch of cinnamon, no sugar. The chlorogenic acid in coffee slows carbohydrate absorption in the intestine and improves insulin action by 25 to 35%. Studies in diabetes care show that coffee taken 30 minutes before eating can lower post-meal glucose by up to 35 milligrams per deciliter. That's significant. That's the kind of improvement men are usually chasing with medications. Step 3 is your post-exercise coffee. If you're doing any kind of physical activity, even a 20 to 30 minute walk around the neighborhood, have a small black coffee 15 to 30 minutes after you finish. Here's the biology. After exercise, your muscles are primed for glucose uptake. Their insulin sensitivity is at a peak. When you add caffeine at that specific moment, it extends and amplifies that window of sensitivity, improving glucose uptake into the muscles by a meaningful margin. You're stacking 2 powerful effects on top of each other. Your walk was already doing good work. The coffee afterward makes it do even more. And the +1, this is the bonus step. If you have a second coffee during the day, keep it before 2 p.m. and add 200 milligrams of magnesium citrate and 100 to 200 milligrams of L-theanine. I can already hear the question. Doc, where do I find that stuff? Magnesium citrate is in the supplement aisle at any pharmacy, CVS, Walgreens, Rite Aid. All of them carry it, usually under $15 for a bottle that lasts months. L-theanine is right next to it. Natural Vitality makes a popular magnesium powder called Calm that many of my patients use. Now, if you're in a rural area or don't have easy access to a pharmacy, Amazon has all of this. Surge magnesium citrate capsules and L-theanine 200 milligrams. Both are inexpensive and widely available. Here's why they matter. Magnesium deficiency is extremely common in men over 60, and low magnesium is directly linked to increased insulin resistance. Correcting it improves your overnight insulin sensitivity, meaning your fasting numbers the next morning are better. The L-theanine takes the edge off the caffeine's stimulating effect, preventing the cortisol spike that afternoon coffee can cause. Your sleep stays protected, and your baseline glucose the next day stays cleaner. Now let's talk about how much coffee you should actually be drinking, because the old no more than 2 cups rule is too blunt. Your body is not the same as your buddy's body. The formula I use with my patients is simple. Take your weight in pounds, divide by 66. That gives you the maximum number of 6-ounce cups per day. If you're 200 pounds, that's about 3 cups. If you're 160 pounds, closer to 2.5. And if you're exercising regularly, you can add half a cup for every 30 minutes of moderate activity. The best feedback mechanism is your own body. If after coffee you feel alert but calm, not jittery, not anxious, no energy crash 2 hours later, you're in the right range. If you feel wired, shaky, or you're ravenous an hour after drinking it, you're either having too much or drinking it at the wrong time. Use a measured mug. One of those 6-ounce pour-over mugs works great, so you're not accidentally drinking 16-ounce cups and calling it one coffee. A lot of guys are technically having 4 to 5 cups a day without realizing it because their travel mug is enormous. Now, let me tell you about the silent enemies. The things that look harmless but quietly undermine everything you're building with this method. The first is artificial sweeteners. I mentioned this earlier, but it deserves its own spotlight. The research here has gotten a lot clearer in the last few years. These compounds, aspartame, sucralose, the stuff in those little pink and yellow packets, disrupt your gut microbiome in ways that increase insulin resistance over time. You think you're making the responsible choice by skipping sugar, but you're trading one problem for another. If you need something sweet, a very small amount of raw honey is a better option than artificial sweeteners, though ideally you're working toward enjoying your coffee without added sweetness altogether. The second silent enemy is low-quality decaf. A lot of men switch to decaf thinking they're doing their glucose a favor. But decaf coffee processed with chemical solvents loses most of its chlorogenic acid and magnesium, the exact compounds that make coffee beneficial for blood sugar. If you're going decaf, look for Swiss water processed decaf, which preserves those compounds. It's available at Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, and online. Regular grocery store decaf in the red can? That's not doing you any favors. The third silent enemy is eating refined carbs with your coffee. The biscuit, the white toast, the donut alongside your morning cup. This combination completely cancels out the chlorogenic acid benefit and produces a brutal glucose spike. If you want something with your morning coffee, pair it with protein and healthy fat. Eggs, a handful of nuts, some Greek yogurt. That combination works with the coffee, not against it. For the first 30 days of this protocol, I strongly recommend eliminating all 3 of those enemies as much as possible. Give your body a real chance to recalibrate. After that, you can reintroduce things with more awareness. But you'll probably find you don't miss most of it once you feel the difference. Now let me bring Robert back into this, because his story is the reason I talk about this method with every single male patient over 60 who walks into my clinic. After Robert and I went through his coffee habits in detail, he was drinking black coffee on an empty stomach at 5:30 a.m., having another cup with artificial creamer around 10, and then a big mug of decaf after dinner. I put him on the C3+1 protocol. Morning coffee with whey protein and cinnamon, small black coffee before lunch, coffee after his morning walk, magnesium and L-theanine in the afternoon. We cut the after-dinner decaf entirely. Week 1. He noticed his afternoon energy crash was less severe. He wasn't hitting that wall at 3 p.m. the way he used to. Week 4. His post-meal spikes had dropped noticeably. He was checking his glucose after dinner and seeing numbers he hadn't seen in years. Week 8. Robert came back in for his follow-up. His HbA1c had dropped from 8.1% to 6.7% in 8 weeks, without changing his medications, without overhauling his diet, without adding hours of exercise he didn't have the joints for. He looked at the lab printout and he just kind of laughed. He said, "So it really was the coffee. It really was the coffee." Well, the coffee done right. Robert's story isn't unique. I've seen this pattern repeat across my clinic for years. Men who feel like they're fighting their own body, who are doing everything they've been told and still losing ground, and then making these specific adjustments and finally seeing their numbers move in the right direction. But I want to be clear about something, because this is important. The coffee method works best as part of a complete system. Think of it like a 3-legged stool. The first leg is coffee done right, the C3+1 method. The second leg is your food, moderate glycemic carbohydrates paired with lean protein and fiber. Aim for 1.2 to 1.5 grams of protein per pound of body weight and around 30 grams of fiber daily. This means chicken, fish, eggs, legumes, vegetables, the stuff that doesn't spike you. The third leg is movement, 30 to 45 minutes of brisk walking, 3 to 5 days a week, multiplies every benefit you're getting from the coffee. And if you want to add a fourth support, 500 milligrams of berberine taken with your morning coffee can amplify the insulin sensitizing effect by an additional 25%, according to the metabolic research. Talk to your doctor before adding berberine if you're on glucose-lowering medications, since it's actually quite potent. Now let me answer the questions I hear most often from guys going through this. Can I use honey instead of sugar in my coffee? Yes, a small amount of raw organic honey is significantly better than refined sugar or artificial sweeteners. It has a lower glycemic impact and contains trace minerals that support metabolic function. A half teaspoon is fine. A full tablespoon every morning is still going to spike you. Moderation is key. What about instant coffee, like Folgers Crystals or Nescafe? Is that okay? It's not ideal. Instant coffee loses a significant portion of its chlorogenic acid content during processing, which is the main compound responsible for the insulin sensitizing effect. If that's all you have access to, it's still better than nothing, and you can add cinnamon to compensate. But if you have the option, a simple drip coffee maker with ground Arabica beans is going to give you meaningfully better metabolic benefits. I get leg cramps at night. Is that related? Actually, yes, it very possibly is. Leg cramps in older men are frequently a sign of magnesium deficiency, which, as I mentioned, is also directly connected to insulin resistance. Adding the magnesium citrate in your afternoon coffee isn't just about glucose. It may well help with those nighttime cramps too. A lot of my patients report that as one of the first things they notice improving. Is this method safe if I already have advanced diabetes? Yes, and in many ways it's especially beneficial. The combination of chlorogenic acid, appropriate caffeine timing, and magnesium has been shown in meta-analyses to reduce HbA1c by 0.8 to 1% over 3 to 6 months. Just monitor your glucose more closely in the first few weeks as your sensitivity improves, and coordinate with your doctor if you need to adjust your medication dosage, because you may actually need less as things stabilize. Do I need to buy expensive coffee? No. A decent 100% Arabica ground coffee from the regular grocery store is completely fine. 8 o'clock, Cafe Bustelo, Arabica, or the store brand Arabica at Kroger or Publix will all work. The important things are that it's real ground coffee, not heavily flavored or processed, and that you brew it fresh rather than buying pre-made bottled coffee drinks, which usually have added sugars. Here's the honest truth, and I want to say it plainly because I think you deserve straight talk. Managing blood sugar after 60 doesn't have to be a constant uphill battle. You don't need more prescriptions. You don't need a perfect diet. You don't need to run marathons. What you need is to understand how your body actually works at this stage of life, and then make a few small specific adjustments that align with that biology instead of fighting it. The C3+1 method is one of those adjustments. It's not magic, it's physiology. Your body is already capable of regulating glucose effectively. It just needs the right signals at the right times. And something as simple as when and how you drink your morning coffee sends one of those signals loud and clear. I've seen this work with my own eyes, in my own clinic, with real men who were ready to give up on getting their numbers under control. Robert wasn't a special case. He was a guy who made 4 small changes to a habit he already had. And 8 weeks later, his life looked different. You can do the same thing. Starting tomorrow morning, take that cup of coffee, the one you were going to have anyway, and do it right. Add your protein, add your cinnamon, time it correctly. Keep it before 2 p.m. and give your body 30 days to show you what it can do when you stop accidentally working against it. If this was helpful, share it with another man in your life who's fighting the same battle. And if you want to go deeper, next week I'm going to show you how to combine this method with a simple intermittent fasting approach that's safe and sustainable for men over 60, without the blood sugar crashes that usually come with fasting. Your health, your energy, your independence over the next 10, 20 years, it's more in your control than you've been told. And it starts with something sitting on your kitchen counter right now. Take care of yourself. I'll see you in the next one.